Have you ever felt like you were walking on a path that was just too narrow for you? It seems like everyone else is moving along just fine, staying neatly within the lines, but you keep stumbling off the edge. This is a feeling many people with ADHD know all too well. Our society, often without even realizing it, has created a very specific idea of what a normal person should be like. This ideal person is consistent, punctual, organized, predictable. They follow a straight line from one task to the next. When someone's brain works differently, like an ADHD brain does, they don't fit into this rigid mold, and that's where the friction begins. This mismatch is not a personal failure. It's a systemic one. Imagine trying to use a map designed for a car when you are navigating a river in a kayak. The map isn't wrong, and the kayak isn't broken, but they are fundamentally incompatible for the journey ahead. People with ADHD are often handed a neurotypical map for life and then criticized when they can't follow it. They are judged not for who they are, but for how they fail to conform to a set of expectations that were never designed for their unique neurological wiring. This continuous judgment can be incredibly disheartening and damaging over time. The core issue is that our world often prioritizes a very narrow range of human behaviors and traits, labeling them as good or successful. Think about the quiet student who sits still, the employee who never misses a deadline, the friend who always remembers every birthday. These are wonderful qualities, but they are not the only qualities that have value. The spontaneous, creative, passionately focused nature of an ADHD brain also brings immense strengths to the table. The problem arises when society only makes room for one type of person, leaving everyone else to feel like they are somehow less than. This essay is a gentle exploration of why people with ADHD so often face criticism and misunderstanding. We will look at how everyday social rules, the culture of work, and the complexities of dating can become minefields for someone whose brain is simply different. More importantly, we will discuss why this isn't about fixing the person with ADHD, but about expanding our understanding and adjusting our systems. It's about widening that narrow path so that more people have the space to walk it authentically and without shame, creating a world that is more accommodating for everyone. Many of the difficulties faced by people with ADHD stem from a clash with unwritten social rules. These are the subtle expectations we all learn about how to behave in polite society. Visual neurotypical conversation, straight line, next to ADHD conversation, web of interconnected lines. For instance, maintaining steady eye contact is seen as a sign of respect and attentiveness. For someone with ADHD, forcing eye contact can be mentally taxing and make listening impossible. They might look away to focus on the words. The other person often interprets that as disinterest or rudeness. That creates an instant misunderstanding unrelated to intent. Another common point of friction is conversation flow. A typical conversation follows a linear path, turn-taking, building on points. The ADHD brain makes connections in a web-like fashion. A single word can trigger a chain of multiple seemingly unrelated thoughts. That can lead to interrupting or abruptly changing the subject. To the person with ADHD, they're sharing an exciting connection. To their partner, it can feel like they weren't being listened to, dismissed or ignored. Then there's forgetfulness, often read as carelessness. Forgetting a friend's coffee order, forgetting a partner's request to take out the trash, forgetting an important date. The other person might think, if they truly cared, they'd remember. For the ADHD brain, it's not a lack of care. It's often a working memory issue, the brain's sticky note for temporary info. The love and intention exist, but the mechanism to hold details is unreliable, causing recurring conflict. Ultimately, one critical error underlies this. People assume intent from behavior without considering neurology. They see the missed appointment. They see the interrupted story. They see the forgotten promise. They assign motives, laziness, disrespect, selfishness. The why behind the behavior is invisible. We judge external effect without awareness of internal cause. This constant misinterpretation leaves the person with ADHD feeling perpetually misunderstood and unfairly judged for true neurological traits. When a disability is visible, society often knows how to respond with compassion and practical support. Visual split screen. Left, a person in a wheelchair looks at a flight of stairs. Right, a person sits at a messy desk, looking overwhelmed, with thought bubbles showing a chaotic jumble of tasks. If you see someone in a wheelchair approaching a building with only stairs, you immediately understand the problem. You don't tell them, everyone finds stairs tiring sometimes, just try harder to get up them. The need is clear, and the solution is to build a ramp. The responsibility is placed on the environment to be accessible. This is a powerful and important form of validation. ADHD, however, is an invisible disability. From the outside, a person with ADHD looks just like anyone else. Their struggles with executive functions, like organization, time management, emotional regulation, are internal. Because these struggles are not visible, others often fail to recognize them as legitimate challenges. Instead, they compare these difficulties to their own occasional moments of disorganization or distraction. They might say, "I get distracted sometimes too, you just need to focus." Or, "I'm also tired, but I still get my work done." This comparison is deeply invalidating and minimizes a real neurological condition. This is where the harmful phrase, "just try harder," comes from. It turns a need for support and accommodation into a perceived moral failing. The message is that the problem isn't the inaccessible system. The problem is your lack of effort or willpower. For someone with ADHD who is already trying as hard as they can just to keep up, this is devastating. It's like being told to see harder when you have a vision impairment or hear harder when you are deaf. It places the entire burden of a disability onto the individual, fostering feelings of shame, guilt, and isolation. The consequence of this invisibility is a profound lack of empathy and a tendency towards harsh judgment. Instead of seeing a person who needs a different kind of support system, clearer instructions, flexible deadlines, a quieter workspace, people see someone who appears lazy, unreliable, or unmotivated. The world doesn't offer them a ramp. It just tells them to climb the stairs faster. This constant judgment erodes self-esteem and makes it incredibly difficult for people with ADHD to ask for the help they genuinely need, for fear of being dismissed or criticized yet again. Bottom line, ADHDers get flack because difference gets punished, support needs get moralized, systems refuse to adapt, then blame the individual. It's not that ADHDers are failing society, it's that society is failing neurodivergent people and calling it personal responsibility. Our modern world, especially in the workplace, operates on a very specific set of values that we can call productivity culture. This culture worships consistency above all else. It expects employees to deliver a steady, predictable amount of output every single day from 9 to 5. Progress is expected to be linear, a straight, upward climbing line on a graph. The ideal worker is someone who can sit still for long periods, focus on a single task for hours, and seamlessly transition from one priority to the next without losing momentum. This model is treated as the gold standard for professionalism and success. The ADHD brain, however, works in a completely different rhythm. It is not designed for the steady, marathon-like pace of the typical workday. Instead, it operates more like a sprinter. An ADHD brain is often powered by interest, novelty, and urgency. When a task is genuinely engaging or a deadline is looming, it can enter a state of hyperfocus, an intense, deep concentration where incredible amounts of work can be accomplished in a short burst. But this high-energy output is not sustainable. It's often followed by a period of burnout or brain fog, where even simple tasks feel impossible. This fundamental mismatch creates a huge amount of friction. A manager might see an employee who was incredibly productive on Monday and Tuesday, but then seems sluggish and distracted on Wednesday. Following the rules of productivity culture, the manager might assume the employee is becoming lazy or has lost their motivation. They don't see the full picture. The employee may have used up all their executive function spoons during that intense burst of work and now needs time to recover. The system rewards the steady tortoise, but punishes the sprinting hare, even if both cross the finish line at the same time. Furthermore, productivity culture has very little tolerance for non-linear thinking or boredom. ADHD brains thrive on making novel connections and can be stifled by repetitive, monotonous tasks. Boredom for a neurotypical person might be mildly unpleasant, but for someone with ADHD, it can be physically painful and mentally paralyzing. Because the system isn't designed to accommodate a need for variety, interest-driven work or cycles of intense focus and rest, people with ADHD are often left feeling like they are constantly failing. They are blamed for not succeeding in a system that was never built for them in the first place. From a young age, many people with ADHD learn that their natural way of being invites criticism. They are told to sit still, stop fidgeting, pay attention, wait their turn. To avoid constant negative feedback, they develop a coping mechanism called masking, visual emphasis. Mirror, holding a smiling mask to the mirror while the real face is tired. Masking is the conscious or unconscious effort to suppress ADHD traits and perform normal behaviors. It's like being a method actor in character all day, every day. They force painful eye contact. They meticulously plan every word to avoid interrupting. They rely on complex reminder systems to seem organized. This performance is incredibly draining. It requires huge mental energy to constantly monitor and suppress impulses. Imagine holding a beach ball underwater. You can do it for a while, but it takes constant pressure. The moment your attention slips, the ball shoots up. Masking is just like that. It eats cognitive resources that could be for work, for creativity, or simply enjoying the moment. So many come home utterly exhausted, a social hangover. The harm goes beyond exhaustion. It can lead to severe anxiety. Fear your mask will slip and you'll be judged. It breeds deep shame and low self-worth. Pretending teaches you your authentic self is unacceptable. That can cause an identity crisis. Who are you without the mask? You might look successful but feel like a fraud. Masking isolates you from needed support. Because you appear fine, friends, family, even doctors, they may dismiss your struggles. When you finally ask for help, you're often met with disbelief. Dating can be a complex dance for anyone, but for people with ADHD, the steps can feel particularly confusing. This isn't because they are incapable of being loving, committed partners. In fact, they are often incredibly passionate, loyal, empathetic. The challenges arise because common ADHD traits can clash with the typical expectations and rhythms of a romantic relationship. One of the most common patterns is what some call the hot start, confusing middle. In the early stages of dating, the novelty and excitement can trigger hyperfocus. The person with ADHD may shower their new partner with intense attention, affection, energy, creating a powerful and intoxicating connection. However, as the relationship settles into a more comfortable routine, that initial novelty fades. The ADHD brain, which thrives on new stimuli, may no longer provide that same level of dopamine-fueled intensity. This can lead to a noticeable drop in the frequency of texts, a decrease in grand romantic gestures, or what appears to be a loss of interest. For the partner, this shift can be deeply confusing and hurtful. They may feel like they were love-bombed and are now being discarded. In reality, the person with ADHD's love hasn't necessarily faded. It's the brain's attention and energy regulation that has changed. Another significant friction point is the out-of-sight, out-of-mind phenomenon, which is related to challenges with object permanence and working memory. A person with ADHD can love their partner deeply, yet forget to respond to a text for hours, or miss a small, promised task simply because it left their immediate field of awareness. This is not a reflection of their emotional investment, but a logistical glitch in the brain's task management system. The partner, however, may interpret this as a sign of indifference or that they are not a priority, leading to feelings of being neglected or unimportant. Emotional intensity also plays a huge role. Many people with ADHD experience emotions very powerfully. Some also have a condition known as rejection-sensitive dysphoria, or RSD. This is an extreme emotional sensitivity to perceived criticism or rejection. A slightly critical tone of voice or a delayed response can feel like a devastating emotional blow, triggering an intense reaction of shame, defensiveness, or withdrawal. From the partner's perspective, this can feel like they have to walk on eggshells, unable to bring up minor issues without causing a major emotional event. This dynamic can make open and honest communication incredibly difficult to maintain. So, if these challenges are so common, how can we build stronger, more understanding relationships? The answer isn't in platitudes like be more patient or try to be more organized. It lies in practical, collaborative strategies that acknowledge the reality of the ADHD brain. One of the most effective steps is to name the ADHD early-ish in the relationship. This doesn't mean announcing it on a first date. Share it once you feel a genuine connection is forming, before misunderstandings can build up and cause damage. This provides crucial context for your behaviors and turns potential conflicts into opportunities for teamwork. A second, vital strategy is to externalize the systems. Don't rely on one person's memory. Use a shared digital calendar for appointments. Use a whiteboard on the fridge for daily tasks. Set joint phone alarms for important reminders. When the system is external, it's no longer one person's responsibility to just remember. It becomes a shared tool that supports the couple and removes moral judgment from logistics. Explicit reassurance is another powerful tool. I love you. I'm not mad at you. I'm just tired. Thank you for trying. I see your effort. This verbal clarity soothes the anxious part of the ADHD brain that's scanning for signs of rejection, allowing them to feel more secure and present without guessing what their partner feels. Finally, shift the focus from perfection to repair. No relationship is perfect. Misunderstandings will happen. The strength comes from the couple's ability to repair. Choose partners who are willing to listen, learn, and work together to find solutions instead of assigning blame. For some, dating another neurodivergent person brings relief and innate understanding. The goal is a partnership where both people feel seen, supported, and loved for who they are. If this exploration has been helpful, we invite you to watch other pieces in our Disability and Relationship series.